situation or circumstance, yeah, I'd be willing to do it again, but as long as it didn't, you know, it was just, and it could be done. I mean, we, you know, over a 2-year period of time grew the territory or whatever of that was there in Louisville that was existing from running 4 or 5 shows a month to running, you know, 4 or 5 shows a week. The last year before we were, the WWE separated the relationship, we ran 186 live events in a year. So I don't know of any other promotion, not even TNA ran 186 shows in 1 year. You know, granted, I mean, you know, the average attendance was probably around 300 people. But to develop new talent, they have to have experience, and where they have to have experience is not in an empty building, but in front of an audience, and that's how you learn the art and the trade of being a professional wrestler. There's no other place that can say that they did, you know, that much, where the guys had an opportunity on a monthly basis of about being in front of at least 3,000 to 4,000 people on a monthly basis, and you know, over the years, about 55,000. So, not a bad accomplishment. You know.
Not at all. No, not at all.
And that was, you know, that was all of the guys, you know, the talent and everybody. We all worked very hard. I mean, we worked 7 days a week down there doing that. And it was getting to where it was going to be a self-sustaining, viable territory. Granted, you know, it had WWE's backing, which helped tremendously fill the gaps, but it was starting to get to where every building was getting more of an average attendance to where it would start to become self-sufficient at some point. But you know, that wasn't the case. They severed the relationship to the talent to Fulton. So.
Now let's play a little name association with a few wrestler names here.
We'll try. I have the memory of a crack baby, so you know, I don't know if that really is going to work.
Let's start out with John Morrison.
Okay.
What are a couple of your just real quick thoughts about him?
John's a kid that tried out for Tough Enough 2 and then again in 3, and I fought to get him in and argued. Actually, I had to argue with John Miller, the head of MTV, to allow him on Tough Enough, and where he's at is no surprise to me. Not whatsoever. In fact, I could foresee him being a big star even further, given enough time and enough political maneuvering and such.
Okay. Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan, probably one of the greatest workers in the business. You know, he drew how much money for how many years, you know. Like him, hate him, you have to respect the fact that this is a business, and as a business, the business of being a business is to create attractions that motivate people to spend their money to pay to see it, and that was one thing that Hogan was very instrumental in doing. If Hogan hadn't been that instrumental in doing it, then you certainly wouldn't have an interest to the degree that you have it right now, to where you're sitting here wanting to talk to him. Maybe somebody else might have came along that might have created that, but he's the reason why the business is where it is today.
Okay, let's go a little old school.
And that's not saying that I'm a big fan of Hogan. You know, he's a nice guy, but you know, not particularly my cup of tea. But you know, being what he is, he drew 93,000 people. Who else has done that?
Yeah. Little old school. Kevin Sullivan.
Kevin Sullivan, gee, I was a booker in WCW and in Florida at the time. A lot of weird stuff, but the great thing about professional wrestling is that if it's done in the right context, and that meaning that it's done as if it's real, which the only thing that's fake about wrestling is that the finish. We know who's going to win and who's going to lose. That's the only thing that's fake about wrestling. If it's done the right way, you can do anything as long as it revolves around it still being a competition. I mean, look, I had people believe, at least to the point while they're in the building, and enjoy and are entertained by the fact that they think I can knock people out with a plastic head. You, I hope, and I know, but hopefully you do too, well, know that ain't possible. I mean, you could be in the full throes of a stroke, or a grand mal seizure, and I could clip you with that and still would not be able to knock you unconscious. But I, for how many years, been able to knock guys out, and people, hey,
Yeah.
do one head, you know.
Yeah.
Because you can make them believe anything as long as it's within the context of using it to win and not to lose.
All right. Here's a name kind of out of left field, Brooklyn Brawler.
Brooklyn Brawler. Again, a guy who's kind of maligned and disrespected in the wrestling business because he's a jobber. But what's the fakest thing about professional wrestling? The finish. You don't really beat Steve Lombardi. You know, Steve Lombardi allows you to beat him, and you can't be the main event without the opening match, and you can't be the opening match without the main event. And you can't be a winner without a loser. You know, everybody plays a part. Nobody in this business makes money on their own, and so you have to be willing to respect Steve Lombardi and the fact that he's done something that all the guys that put him down and throw dirt on him are guys who don't even have a tenth of the career that he's had. You know, oh well, he lost all the time. Yeah, but let me ask you something. Have you ever worked for the WWE at any point, any time, doing anything? And let me tell you, Vince McMahon is not a great philanthropist or charitable guy, or he does not keep people in that company to serve some type of purpose. And if you don't serve some type of purpose,
You're out the door.
you're out the door. Look at, Funaki. He's the new Brooklyn Brawler. Really? How long has he been in WWE? 10, 11 years? How many guys, how many thousands of guys would want to even just be in the WWE for a month? For 10 days? And he's been there for how long? He's just being, you think that Vince just keeps him around because he likes him? Hell, he don't even talk to him. Do you understand?
Nice. Now, what would you think the biggest misconception about being a pro wrestler is?
What's the biggest misconception? There's lots of misconceptions. Boy, that'd be tough to say.
Or maybe just name a couple misconceptions that just off the top of your head.
Jerry's like, oh, I got one.
If you're on TV, you're rich.
Yeah, if you're on TV, you're rich, but that's not just applying to wrestling. That's applies to
That's everything.
everybody believes that when you're on TV that you're living, some jet set lifestyle. I remember actually having a conversation with a woman years ago. She's like, "What are you doing tomorrow?" I go, "I'm mowing lawn." Get out! And she wouldn't believe that I was going to mow my lawn. Figuring I must pay somebody to do that. Which I
But that
thought
would actually get hurt.
that wrestling's fake. Wrestling itself is not fake. It is the outcome that is fake. That boxing is fake. MMA is fake. And that is the fact that the outcomes sometimes are predetermined based on business. There is no real sport anymore in the world. Not when you make it an attraction and you are now trying to drive business by the number of people you put in the seats. Well, if there are millions of dollars on the line, do you honestly think we're going to leave that to chance? No. We're going to say this guy needs to win because we think we can make more money with this guy winning than we can if he loses. Or this guy needs to lose because if he loses and we bring him back and he wins, we'll make more money. Winning and losing don't mean nothing because it's the fakest thing in professional wrestling. Other than that, everything else is real. If you don't think so, look at all the guys and all the pain they go through. And as far as, name it, as far as the number of injuries that they've had, and Mick Foley's not the only guy that suffered injuries.
Yeah.
I know he likes to walk around and act like he is, but I'm telling you right now, every other guy who has worked any length of time on any regular basis has suffered probably as much or more than what he does. They just don't carry it around like it's a badge of honor.